Hi, everyone. It's Lydia. Darlene and I are back in a few minutes, and later today I'll have Sati Gossett on the show. I'm just checking in. I never tell you when this is going to happen, so if you're there, you're there. But we are still we're still so technophobic. We're not the most technologically savvy people in the world. I apologize. Mainly it's because I'm unable to see what I'm doing without glasses. Darlene's going to join me in a minute. I'm trying to see if there's a reverb. No reverb. Yeah, that's cool. Um, Unfortunately, I cannot see the chat right now. But oddly. So you'll have to forgive us if we don't look at the chat while we're doing the show itself. We're going to catch up. I have not seen Darlene in a while. She's had a lot of things going on in her life. Dr. Darlene Sperlazza. She is a medical doctor and a dean of nursing at a university in West Virginia. I'm waiting for her to come on the show. In the meantime, how's everybody doing? I just spoke at a recovery meeting, and whenever I speak, I feel like I'm honed in on what's really important, which is to let go of my ego, to let go of my self-centered fear, and to be of love and service to someone who needs to hear a message of hope. And, we can't do anything alone in this world. No man is an island, as the famous poet said. So we need each other. And I know that years of isolation of COVID have been taking their toll on young men, especially, and young people and high school kids and teenagers. And, the highest suicide rate in America is 13 to 15-year-old girls and young men. It's isolation, I think, that's causing all this. And we need to get together. And, there's this thing called meetup groups. Oh, there's my Cindy. There's a thing called meetup groups where you can actually meet people who have common interests with you. You can find someone who loves to horseback ride. And in your little village or city or town, you can form a meetup group where you all meet at Starbucks and go horseback riding or go do graphic design together, or take classes together, or help each other. Oh, lipstick break. You notice how many women do this lipstick thing? We're so conscious of our looks. The society that we're in really judges women based on their looks. It's still that way. It was that way when I was on this show. And, I wasn't allowed to age. I remember when I turned 35, casting director Ruben Cannon said, "Wow, you look pretty good for an old lady." I was 35. Okay. All right. Let me get Darlene. I'll try to, I will try to see where she is. Okay. Okay, Darlene, we're on the air. We are on. Sorry for this. This is really, it's really raw and messy every time we start this show. I always start it and I would go, "Hey, can anyone hear me?" Oh, there's Denise. I have to tell her later. I'll talk to her later. Anyway, regarding the political climate, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I do have very strong feelings, but I've found something really important, that if you have resentment toward anyone or anything and you don't clean that up and let it go, if you carry and harbor resentment and anger, it can actually affect your body. It can actually hurt. You can actually not heal. And there's an amazing story about a woman who had really bad sciatica back pain, and she couldn't figure out why she wasn't healing from it, no matter what she did. And someone said, "Are you holding any resentment toward anyone?" And she realized she was harboring anger and gossip. She was gossiping about her coworker, a librarian at the same library. And the minute she cleaned that up and let it go, her backache went away. So think about that. It's one of the tenets of the 12-step program, is to let go of resentment, because emotionally we can't carry that baggage around. It's like carrying regret and guilt and, resentment. They cost a lot and they're heavy. And emotions actually affect your, oh good, here she is. affect your well-being, your body. Darlene, how come I can't see her? Oh, there she is. Hey, Darlene. Darlene. Yeah, I haven't seen her in so long. We were gonna do a podcast every week, and we really screwed that up because we've both been really busy. And I've also felt lately as if I'm wearing lead boots, swimming through molasses. That's how lethargic and heavy I've been feeling. Hey, Darlene, so good to see you.
Nice to see you too. I heard you talking. I thought you were talking to me.
Well, I am talking at you and toward everybody in Facebook Live. I'm just trying to do it live without any echo. Seems to be working, I think. You
I
know, I
don't
can check on
I
my
don't
phone.
hear any echo. And I
Good.
was trying to talk back to you. My picture wasn't up, my mic wasn't on. We're good.
So good to see you.
Nice to see you too. Let me
You
step back a little
too.
bit. Okay, so thank you for moving this up a couple minutes, and hello to everybody that's on right now and that will be watching in the future hours or days or whatever. So appreciate that. So
Tell
how
me
are
what's
you,
going on
Lydia?
in your life. What's going on in your life? How
What's
are you?
going Well, if anybody is tuning in today that needs a little encouragement about things that happened, the month of March for me was really rocking and rolling. So I'm glad that it's beyond and we're in April, and I'm happy to share what I learned about being involved in tragedy and watching for the Godshots on the outside of that, because it happened. It was happening so much I felt like a ping pong ball.
Right. Tell us what happened to you.
Okay, if you give me 1 second, I want to make sure that my sounds are turned off, or else you guys will be inundated with beeps because my college is beeping in every 2 seconds. So
Dean of the
anyway, so
yeah.
what happened? It's honestly like what didn't happen in the month of March. So um, life goes along and it's really calm. And then all of a sudden you have something happen totally unexpected. And when these things happen, they can rock your world. And so on or around March the 15th, on a Friday evening, late Friday night, about 12:30 in the morning, I received a phone call that my ex-husband had been involved in an accident. He is the father of my 3 boys. I've known him for 44 years, and it was extremely serious. They didn't think he was going to live. He was life-flighted from the scene. He had fallen down steps, 15 steps to be exact, and was not breathing or did not have a pulse at the bottom of the steps. So 12 minutes of CPR was performed, and they life-flighted him out of there into a neuro trauma unit. And for anybody listening, I don't want to say it's almost like a redo, but this is what I want to say, and it brings me tears. As a mother, I thought that my job was over when my children became adults at the age of 18 and started doing their own lives and having wives and children of their own. And when this event happened, I can tell you, no matter how old our children are, they want their mamas.
Oh God.
And it was traumatic. There was a lot of trauma involved. And that was the bad news.
He
The
passed
good news,
away, correct?
he did not.
Oh,
He
he
did
did
not.
not.
He's recovering.
Oh,
He's
thank
recovering.
God.
It's going to be a long road,
Oh,
but what I learned, and I'm going to share very honestly with our listeners today, because that's what I would like this format to be, is honest sharing so people can relate, around 36 years ago, he and I were involved in an altercation, physical altercation, that landed him in jail for a felony, landed me in critical care with head trauma.
wow.
And yes, for those of you that are listening, it was abuse, pure and simple. And alcohol was extremely involved in fueling that fire, which neither one of us knew. Okay. And I always thought, geez, I hope someday he feels this pain. Right.
Mhm.
And when the pain happened, and I saw him look like I looked 36 years ago, compassion, empathy, overwhelmed me. That was the God shot. It was just like, I wasn't happy. My heart went out to my children. My heart went out to the situation. And that in and of itself is a miracle. That's God's grace. To be able to recognize it's not good to hang on to anger.
No.
And past, you need to let the past go. We need to stay in the present, right? And I got to see all of that. And at 20 years sober, I got to be present for my children as a mother should be, which is a whole nother gift. So in tragedy comes the gifts if we search them out. And I learned that in that particular situation, but that wasn't the end. And the interesting thing is that fall took place on my dad's 1-year death anniversary.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. My father, I was mourning my father and dealing with that all at the same time. And the strangest thing was, I felt like my dad was present with me and allowing me to see how he felt with me, how I now felt with him. It was just like we're all connected. Lydia, you talk about that all the time.
Yes, we are, aren't we?
And I believe that I found that to be true through the situation. And then it kept going. It just kept going for the whole entire month. So then, my best friend died 4 years ago in the month of March. So I was processing that.
Okay.
And in my attic, I decided for whatever reason in March to clean all of the stuff out of my attic. And if anybody's like me, you know how much stuff is there.
Interesting
And
metaphor for the higher.
I never thought about that. But what I found was this. So I knew that like my children played sports, so they had trophies and all of the stuff, the kids that we collect for our children. And I decided to get it out of my attic, sort through it, get rid of what I could and have that space be freed up, right?
Yeah.
And I pulled down a box and I walked past it and I saw a Bible, like, because the boxes, they've been up there for 22 years. And it was like they were starting to deteriorate a little bit. So I see this Bible and I'm like, that's weird that I would do that, right? And I opened it and I pulled that Bible out and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I don't know this Bible. I don't know where this came from. And inside of it was a bank receipt from 2003. Okay. It was a bank receipt from my best friend that died 4 years ago. It was from her mother. What I realized was somewhere in 2003, my girlfriend had given me a box of paperwork, legal work, all kinds of stuff because she had gone to jail for gambling.
Oh, wow.
To keep for her. And there it was. And there was all kinds of stuff in there. I still haven't gone through the complete box, but I found the Bible, I found cards, I found pictures of her children, and legal stuff. I know gambling can be a horrible trap for people. And I could see on paper how much $800,000 worth of gambling.
Is this the girl that passed away, your best friend?
Yes.
Oh, wow, that is weird.
And so I find this box. So I'm warning my friend, I find this box. It's all of her very intimate papers that have been stored in my attic for 20 years. And I'm like, why would I have this? So I don't think I have the answer to that quite yet, but here's one more thing I want to share and then I'm going to zip it. So, and then the man that I see was having his hip replaced.
Oh, God.
And so I took him and I drove him. And so I have all of this going on. Now, folks, I want you to stay with me because, when you get this much stuff going on, you're kind of just like, I can't take another second, right? So I'm sitting in that surgical center and I'm praying as he's getting this surgery. And we drove 2.5 hours to do this, by the way. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'm taking care of this person, that person, my children, him. And I just kind of looked up and I was like, and who's taking care of me? Huh? What's happening? Right. I just felt like I needed a little TLC and it just wasn't there. That was on Wednesday. Thursday was Holy Thursday in the Catholic faith, which is what I attend. I don't think that it really matters because I know other organized religions have Thursday, whatever they do.
Thursday, right?
Maundy Thursday, exactly. And it's where, it is said that Christ washed the disciples' feet. And so
Yeah.
that's what we talk
Wait,
about.
yeah.
And I got to church that night. And one of the women in church said to me, I may need your help. And I'm like, well, what do you need? And she goes, I don't think I have enough people to get their feet washed. And I'm like, and I mean, there was probably 200 people there. I'm like, well, if you need, I know, if you need me, and she goes, I'll nod. If you see me nod in your direction, she goes, walk to the front to get on the altar to have your feet washed. So I have enough people in the chairs. Okay. So it starts and she nods at me and I'm going, oh, geez. So I walk to the front of the church. I get on the altar. The priest was a visiting priest.
Yeah.
Did not know him. And he's like, you get in the first chair. He tells me to get in the, okay. So I get in the first chair, take my shoes off. They pour the water over my feet. He goes to dry my feet. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I heard it. I heard the God shot. I heard it. And it said to me, I will take care of you.
Of course.
And it was like so profound. I started crying. I'm on the altar crying because I thought, well, that makes sense. But why can't I think of that when I'm in those really pivotal points in my life of being overwhelmed or fearful or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess what I'm saying, folks, is the whole entire time that this month has had so much negative activity happening, the God shots are right there. It's like rainbows in the clouds.
Yes.
And I've just had to try to be aware of those. And doing this podcast right now is just so timely. And I mean, we've been trying to do podcasts for a couple months.
I know.
So having it happen like right now is pretty incredible, I think.
Wow.
So I know I just said a lot and I wanted to just kind of open it up for people to ask questions, to feel free to write in, to realize the humanness of all of us.
I can hear to see who's chatting.
Yeah.
But turn the volume off because I'm not able to. Oh, there it is. Uh-oh. There we go. God, you've been through a lot.
In the
You've
month
been
of
through more
March.
than most people for this month, I think. I mean, everyone's going through something. And I'm
Yes.
noticing in my own life, I was starting to tell people that I feel like I'm wearing lead boots and swimming through molasses. I feel very slow. The past 10 days, I hit a really strange wall where I'm usually Pollyanna. I'm usually able to rev myself out of depression. I've been depressed and I've never admitted that out loud, but it's been temporary because I'm always able to see the silver linings, the rainbows, the unicorns, I'm able to find a little split in the curtain of materialism, this weird, pall we cast over ourselves, or this darkness that we pull the wool over our own eyes at times. And we're not really conscious of the presence of love and happiness and joy, which is our birthright. We have access to that immediately when we're quiet and we're still and we go to our higher self, which is where I believe that can be accessed. That's where God can be accessed for me. But I love what you said when you felt that, because first of all, being of love and service is where I get it, where I realize it the most. Whenever I'm out of my self-centered fear and I'm not thinking of only me, what can I get? Who's taking care of me? That's exactly what I think almost every day. Like, hey, wait, where's mine? Where's mine?
Absolutely.
I go, maybe I'm okay. Maybe I'm being taken care of by the love that created me, the universal love, which some people I call God. You can call it love, the force of love, the creative spirit of the universe. And this is a really important week for new beginnings. That's what Easter's about. Starting over, fresh start, rebirth, resurrection. It's so cool that we can mix, our archaeology, ancient religions, beautiful teachings in the Bible with tangible, practical evidence of overcoming depression and overcoming fear and overcoming heartache and overcoming poverty. Really, I've had these miracles myself, and they're not, oddly enough, I access them through a sense of wonder and actually taking a leap of belief, taking a leap of faith. So in my life, I'm like a kid in a candy store. Sometimes I just go, hey, I'm going to stop my cynical mind. I'm going to shut off that valve, which is so negative all the time. It wants to see the worst in everybody and complain. What if everything's okay?
What if?
This
Mhm.
moment. What if I could have a new reality by changing my thinking? And it's hard sometimes.
It is, it is. But I learned that I can't change my own thinking. Like when I was sitting in that surgery center, I couldn't get out of the fact, what about me? What about me? What about me? Like a wind up doll, right? What about
Yeah, yeah,
me?
yeah.
I could not stop that. But when I followed through on being asked to help
Oh my
and
God.
get on the altar and do my feet, right? Which I did not want to do, to tell you the truth, and did what I was asked to do to be of service to somebody else. That's when my answer came. And it was profound. And the greatest part of that whole story is, and like when you're crying because something really touches your spirit, and it's like one of those where you can't stop the tears, or your nose starts running. And here I am with nothing on this altar, facing all these people, and I'm crying. And the lady next to me, it was so cute. She was so adorable. And she looks at me and she goes, I can't find my sock. I said, what do you mean? And she had taken her sock off to put her foot in the thing, taking her shoe and her sock off, and she couldn't find her sock, which was actually kind of comical because I'm looking on the floor and there's no sock. I'm like, okay, like what happened to this woman's sock, right? And I didn't really know her. And she stood up sockless and she was sitting on it. Now, how she got it under her seat, but it made me laugh and it stopped the tears, so I didn't look like a you know, total idiot sitting up there sobbing, because nobody would have understood why I was crying, because it was personal to me. And I think that's what God does. He's
Right.
personal to us. And
Totally.
that we reach those depression states, and we all hit them. We all hit them, or the aggravated points in life, or the frustrated points in life, that that's not what it's about. And that reminds me, I've been watching some near-death experiences. Just
Oh,
because.
yeah.
And so I watched this one woman who happened to be a PhD psychologist,
Mm-hmm.
but had a near-death experience. And she said when she met God, when she left her body, she was telling him, well, I helped this many people, and I did this, and I provided that, and I was part of this group, and I did mission work, and wherever she did it. And she just went on and on. And God said, that's wonderful that you do those things, but that's not what it's about.
Mm.
He's like, and she shared what she learned in that experience. And in that experience, she learned that he said, you can do more. Because not the big things. I'm not looking for the big things. I'm looking for the compassion in
Yeah.
everyday
Right.
life.
Right. Oh God. Okay, I have to tell you, when I hit this dark hole, I went through a dark night of the soul
Mhm.
last week and this week. It's really strange. And I was really in the pit of despair. It was weird. I almost couldn't get out of it. And that's not like me at all. And I know that the purpose was to deepen something in me. But I then went to a recovery meeting of all women at 7 a.m. on Friday. It was last Friday, 2 weeks ago Friday. And I heard the message of joy and I started laughing again. For me, my higher power speaks to me through laughter, comedy, joy, through seeing the beauty in life. I literally had to have a lobotomy and remove my old brain to hear the new message of just let it go. And at that meeting, an older woman at 89 years old was laughing so hysterically, and she's in her she's in hospice care, and they say she only has a few days to live. But she is so full of joy and happiness. And I started laughing and I went, oh, you brought my spirit back. I knew why I had to come to this meeting this morning. And at the end of the meeting, I was so grateful. Gratitude is the quickest way to get to prayer, by the way. The quickest way to access this power is to count your blessings. But I then surrendered again. I said, oh, show me what the next indicated step is. Universal love, God, whatever you want to call it. And at that moment, the phone rang. And a woman I haven't seen in years that I kind of envy a little, this gorgeous woman, asked me to speak at another big in-person recovery meeting the next morning. And I was tempted to say no, but I said yes automatically. And so many amazing things came out of that meeting. I made amends with someone I had a falling out with 20 years ago. I got to see her. I got to get over my envy and jealousy of another person in the meeting that I thought was somebody who was better than me. So many gifts came out of it, and I was completely open. And all I did was say, get my ego out of the way and let me just speak to the person who needs to hear the message. So that was my service work. And the service work sparked me to have a much better week. I mean, it's like clockwork. Every time I let go of my selfish, greedy, desperate nature, lower nature, and I ask if I can be of love and service, or at least say yes to somebody who asked me. So that's the compassion. And I remember years ago, I used to care, really, really, really be open to all this. I walked into Rite Aid, which was thrifty in the old days in Beverly Hills, where Zsa Zsa Gabor got arrested. That crazy drugstore where we used to buy our ice cream. It was like the crazy, you'd see Tori Spelling there, you'd see all these movie stars there. And a woman I was trying to get construction workers to flirt with me again because I turned 50. And I thought I was too old to be pretty anymore. And I remember walking down the street, and usually construction workers would whistle at women. And they never didn't whistle, but this day they were not whistling. And I heard one go, bonito. I was walking my little dog, and I heard one go, bonito perro, pretty dog. Not me. I was looking at the dog. And so I handed the dog off to my kids, and I went into Thrifty to the pharmacy, and I was standing in the Vaseline aisle, and there was a really handsome man in a suit, and he looked at me and he said, wow, you're gorgeous. And I went, oh, and I was so, flattered that I lurked around the Vaseline aisle longer. And I heard the pharmacist yell, hey, you, get out of the store. He's a mental patient. He needs to be, he's escaped. He's got to go back with his caregivers. And I looked down at his feet, and he's wearing bunny bedroom slippers. The only guy who tried to pick me up when I turned 50 turned out to be mentally ill, which is, that's actually a true story that happened that day. And I was so selfish. And then I heard an older woman over at the ice cream and milk area in the drugstore. And she goes, milk. And she was blind, almost blind. And she couldn't get the milk. And I went over to help her, right? And I pulled out the carton of milk. And she says, can you help me see if I have enough quarters to pay for the milk? And I went, I'm going to pay for your milk. Of course, let me buy, what else can I buy you? And I went over and I paid for her everything she needed that day. And I went, Jesus, I'm self-centered. Here I am, yearning to be liked and looked at because I'm getting older. And here's a woman who's almost blind. And I began visiting that woman and her daughter and bringing them groceries once a week for that whole year. And do you know, my whole life blossomed that year. I got over
that. I believe that the more, and I can never understand this, but I think the more that you give away, all of it, possessions, finances, help, literally physical giving away of yourself. I think the more that you give, the more it's given back to you 10 times over. It just is. And it's that is a scripture in the Bible that I never understood. It was there. Yeah. But I never gave anything away either. So how are you going to know if it works if you don't give away, right?
I just got chills when you said that. Yeah. Wayne Dyer said he started tithing, giving away money from every royalty that would come in, and his royalties tripled. He gave $60 off his $600 royalty, then his royalty went to $1,200. The next week he got $3,800. He started giving away more money, and more money came in.
And you know what? I think that's going to be my challenge to myself in the months moving forward. I don't have it to really do, but you know what? I don't have it. I don't should not, I don't know what word I'm trying to use here. I need to do it. How will I ever know? And here's something I wanted to share with you, which I found very interesting. So in all of this time in March, I also flew to Minnesota because my oldest son, as you know, lives in Minnesota with my 3 grandchildren. And after this tragedy had happened and everything, I flew out there. I just wanted to make sure that group of my family was okay. And the kids are 12. The little girl's 12, the boys 15 and 10. So those are the age ranges, right?
Yeah.
And so needless to say, it was a week after the accident. So I had been exhausted from lack of sleep to begin with. I get to Minnesota and they're busy. They're busy in all of their sporting activities and what they do. So I'm going with them. And I'm setting at a wrestling match on Saturday. This is like the coolest story. And my granddaughter is texting her mom and her dad. When you're done at the wrestling match, can you take me and my friends to Starbucks and Target? You know, she's asking, and they're going, no, no, and no. So now I get a text and I'm reading that, and I'm old, I'm ready for bed. It's like, so I looked at my son, I showed him my phone. I said, if it's okay with you, I'll do it. He's like, well, if you want to do it, you can do it. I said, okay. So I get home that late afternoon. My granddaughter's ready. One of her friends are there, and we have to go pick up 2 more, right? So I'm exhausted. So they say, and they all have these little Lululemon bags. Like
Oh.
I'm not like plugging one thing or the other, but it's what these little teenage girls are carrying, right?
Right.
And so they have little Lululemon bags. So I take them to Starbucks. They get out, and I'm just sitting there, and my granddaughter goes, well, aren't you going to come in? I said, no, that's okay. I said, you go ahead and do whatever you guys do in Starbucks. I'll be right here because I figured I'll just shut my eyes and take a little nap. And she goes, no, she was insistent. So they go in, they move tables together. They put their little Lululemon bags on the table. They get their drinks. They come back, and they pulled out Bibles.
Really?
I thought you would look like that. Yes. Little 12-year-old girls.
Really?
And talking about the higher power
Oh,
and the goodness of God. And I'm going, oh my, it would, the things that they were asking, the questions that they were asking, the things that they wanted to know about life. If I would have been asking those types of questions at 12
yeah.
versus what I was doing at 12, life would have been so much different. And I just kind of asked them, I'm like, how did you get to this path? And believe it or not, this little town of St. Michael, Minnesota has some kind of church. I don't even know what it is. It's, I think, something non-denominational. I don't know, where the kids in high school and junior high have made it their fun place to go on Wednesday
Oh,
night.
that's cool.
And so like the whole, like a lot of group of these friends are going. And I'm like, that's like so super to be, I mean, what a gift
Wow.
to be able, you know what I'm saying, instead of wanting to sneak around and hide in a car of a stopped train drinking out of a bottle. You know?
Because of our hormones raging at that age. And by the way, most prisoners are young men whose testosterone levels are through the roof. There's something about, crimes are committed when young men and women, but mainly men, have high testosterone. There's something to that. It's like,
There is. Testosterone makes you rage.
I know.
It does. And so that's why it's very, like in endocrinology, if somebody has an issue with low T, they call it low testosterone, they try to allow them for that to come back up on the body's natural own, procedure. Because when you start throwing artificial testosterone on board,
Yeah.
it depletes. And when it depletes out of the system, you rage because you want it. And it's kind of like,
Right.
it's a very precarious age.
As we age, as women age, I mean, there's a doctor here in town in West Hills who does testosterone implants into your butt area
Yeah.
for women. And
Uh-huh.
I started to grow a little beard.
Well, but see, women
got-
have estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone.
Yeah.
And so you need the testosterone, the little bit that women have. It keeps you healthy and allows you to build muscles. You will never build a muscle like a man. I mean,
Yeah.
women are afraid of lifting weights because they don't want to get bulky. Well, you're not going to get bulky unless you're taking something, because your body's just not designed to do that. But all of those hormonal levels have to stay in a precise balance. And the good news is our body is designed homeostatically to do it on its own.
Yeah.
We don't have to add or subtract. God
You're
does.
right. We don't need it. We shouldn't
No.
be doing that.
No,
Because I got very aggressive on that stuff. Although it does, a friend of mine is a stand-up comedian. He said, do it. I gave it, my wife did it, and her sex drive went through the roof. And they're in their 60s.
Oh, okay. And for everybody listening, her sex drive might go through the roof if you're okay with a woman with a beard.
With a beard. Anyway, no. I mean, these are fads, but there is something to be said for what I was talking about before you got on the air was the high suicide rate of preteen girls, 13 to 15-year-old girls, and 70% of most suicides in America right now are young men who feel left out of the equation right now, who feel like the way our society is changing with equality is causing them to feel left out. And we've got to embrace everyone and love each other. And I almost wish we would teach kindness and compassion in schools and teach also trade. So you don't have to go to college to get a philosophy degree. You learn a trade and you can learn. We should all be helping each other more. We should have fellowship of the spirit, which is why I love recovery meetings, because it's like, you can either go to church or you can go to a meeting where you have like-minded souls who care about each other, who really care.
And it's interesting that you're saying that. For people that are listening, I had a really good friend who since has passed, and he was one of my first friends when I came into the rooms. And, my religion, if you will, is complicated. I mean, Catholicism can be very complicated, with all the sitting, kneeling, standing, and candle lighting and everything that you do, right?
Rituals,
And he made a comment to me one day, because I did go to church and I did believe in God, but yet that was not solving the problem I had with drinking, right?
Right.
And once I got to the rooms, he said to me, and I just thought this was such a profound explanation. He's like, the rooms of AA are like sandlot football, and any church is like the NFL.
Oh,
So the easiest way to get religion is through the spiritual journey of an AA path.
wow.
And it becomes very, we don't read the Bible or do anything like that. That's not what it's about.
Not
But
religious,
you learn about spirituality and kindness and compassion and empathy and all
and
the
letting go
things.
of selfishness,
Yeah.
self-centered fear.
And you find your character defects and what is wrong and how to ask God to remove those, and here's okay, spoiler alert, just for me. When I did asked for my character defects, which were control and anger and those types of things, to be removed, they weren't. And I thought, well, what's up with this? Like, shouldn't they be gone? And I'm like, Miss Pollyanna purebred.
You weren't entirely ready.
But you know what? I don't, even 20 years later, I'm not sure that they ever get fully removed, because they kind of shift. Like, I went from outright control to subtle manipulation, which might even be a little bit worse.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And my anger is not as bad. And I really try to pause. I do that 10-year-old thing. Count to 10 before you say anything, right? And I try to really remember that, because usually it isn't even worth saying. If I just pause long enough to think it through, I usually don't say it. So
that thing that I had a really deep resentment and anger toward a family member, and I was about to call her and give her a piece of my mind, and I heard a voice say, "Love her to pieces." I said this before, and so I put the phone down, restraint of tongue and pen, and paused, like you just
So
said.
did you ever call and give her a piece of your mind?
Nope, I loved her. I loved her every day. I just sent her, radiated love toward her, and nothing but love. And it changed our relationship that entire year, so we could get through a family member's death together. I still have to work on this a little harder though, because we're not speaking, but every interaction we've had has been loving since then. So maybe we're not meant to be each other's lives.
Well, I can tell you that every time I've given the advice to pray for somebody for 2 straight weeks, there is always some kind of good outcome at the end of those 14 days. Always, never fails. And I had a person ask me once, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it like it was, said, "I cannot stand that woman. Do I really have to pray for her?" I'm like, you do. I said, just every day, just pray.
Even more so, because
I was asked, well, can I say pray for the bitch? I'm like, yep. I said, just do it. Just do it. And you know, at the end of those 14 days, it was amazing how that had healed.
oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
Now, not buddy and not like somebody that you want to invite to dinner, but not the crazy, chaotic feeling when you were having all that anxiety going on.
That's in this book and the other book. That if you send loving thoughts, what I call prayer, the invisible transfer of love to another.
Yes.
I mean, I try to take the religion out of it because I was not raised in a fundamentalist religion, but I love all of it. You were, and it's kind of cool that we can talk to both sides, because it's really all the same thing. There's one source of light and love.
Yes.
You know, there's not a million battling egos and wills. If you think that way, then you're going to have nothing but tit for tat fighting. You can't solve any problem at the same level it was created on. You know, you've got to go to a higher level. And that's where the peace comes in. When you're quiet and you're still, you hear answers. I'll tell you, the first day that I came in as a radioactive, drop dead drunk, I really had a horrific, almost dropped my little baby down the stairs in a blackout. When I first went to my first recovery meeting, and all I did was they asked if there was anyone who needed help to admit out loud that you had a problem. My hand shot up. Do you know that was the only prayer I ever really did that was complete by just lifting my hand and admitting it. And then I didn't do anything else. I was just that willingness opened the door to 29 years of miracles, which I call miracles because I'm on a magic carpet ride. Because no
Right.
matter what happens, and I've had some real horrible shit happen the past 29 years. I had a con artist husband who stole all my money. I had, many deaths, tragedies, all sorts of things. But you know what? Everything's been good in a weird way, falling up because I took out my old brain and adopted a sense of wonder and said, maybe it's okay. Maybe everything is really okay. Maybe everything is as it's supposed to be. And I'm just going to surrender. And every time I surrendered, the higher power did all the heavy lifting. I
Yes.
didn't really do a lot of work after that initial big willingness to say, show me the way. Maybe I don't know everything. When I say miracle, I think miracles are actually natural law. I think they're not a alteration of nature. I think they're actually the way nature is supposed to be when we're in the flow, when we're in a
I
divine
agree. I agree.
alignment. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, it's stated that we will do even more things than Jesus did if we believe and have the faith. And it's proven time in and time out. People have healing abilities to
Yeah.
help others. Some are healers, some are preachers, some are in poverty. I mean, everybody has gifts. And when I say poverty, I don't mean
Encouragers. Yeah.
I don't mean like crazy poverty, but
Yeah.
just, can give everything away and live that poor life only focused on the higher power, no other interactions or interruptions. And so it's just very interesting. And the more that I do this kind of living and this kind of work, which all revolves around Godshots, every bit of it, my life does continue to get better and better. And I see that my attitude gets better and better.
Oh,
Like the things that I used to be selfish with, I don't want to be selfish with that anymore. The things that I used to get angry about, I'm not going to get angry anymore. Do I? Yeah, I'm human, but pretty quickly I catch myself and I'm like, in fact, I just had a situation last night, with Rob and his hip and trying to do everything and the cell phones that ding and the computers that ring and, because I work from home. And so there's a lot of external noise that happens. He had a couple phones going and it was probably 9 or 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. I was tired. I was done for the day. I was tired. I was ready to go to bed. And his cell phone, like the ring went off, like somebody was at his house, right?
Yeah.
And I just said, the sharpest tongue in the world spits out, oh yeah, that's what I want to listen to all night. And he's obviously, he can't, I mean, his hip has just been replaced, so he's not sleeping in any beds or doing anything like that. But I mean, I was just it was such a cruel comment that didn't need to be made, but I was tired, I was agitated, and that's where that word halt comes in.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
be too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired.
HALT. HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired.
Because
I'll
when
act on those.
when you're out of balance in any of those areas, it opens you up to having a sharp tongue, a short temper, saying things that you're going to regret, doing things that you'll regret. And so I always try to I try, but I'm not perfect. And so last night it just kind of came out. And then it was like, okay, I owe an amends. I hate that. Hate that. So it's
I
just,
hate it.
yeah. So, but anyway, so I'm learning so much. And here's the good news I've learned for anybody. This is one lesson I've learned. So hopefully you can grasp onto this. I thought about my life and I've had 2 other opportunities in my lifetime to help people through illnesses and sicknesses, like to take care of them to get better, right?
Yeah.
Both of those times, I was kind of just like halfway through it, and I would just be like, oh, this is too hard. I don't want to do this. I'm done. Okay, I got you through the initial part. I'm out of here. It just wasn't what God wanted for me. So what I've learned is this, for me, that we get tests, if you will, that God will present us with to see, okay, you want to serve, you want to be good, you don't want to be angry, you want to live the AA way of life and just be this kind, giving person with empathy and compassion. All right, I'll give you things that will sharpen those skills.
Yeah.
Right? And halfway through it, I'm going, oh my, I won't do this anymore. But then I realized if I don't finish this task, there will be another test.
Oh,
And I
wow.
really want to pass this one and move on.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
you know,
Tests come really
and
rapidly when you don't get the lesson the first time.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
pain is the touchstone of all spiritual progress.
Amen. Yes. 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 And when we say that, we say it so flippantly, but
Yeah.
when you're in it, whether it's your own pain or the pain of suffering with someone else or whatever, it can be heavy, it can get dark, it can get depressing, just like you said.
Well, life is weird. So, I mean, as I'm getting older, there's times I'm really nervous lately. And then the other day, I just went, oh, wait, trust that the universe is on my side. Trust that everything's okay. And I took a leap of trust the other day, a leap of belief in just that everything was fine and everything shifted. The nervousness went away. I was called to speak again. It was like, oh, that's my primary purpose, to help others and to let go my ego. Wear the world as a loose garments. Don't attach to shame, blame, regret, guilt. Don't attach to diseases or ailments too much. Don't walk
Yes,
around saying I have a backache. Don't keep talking about it.
yes,
Honestly, whatever using your viewfinder all day long will become your reality the more you think about it. So let's think higher thoughts. It
right.
sounds simplistic. It's not easy. It's simple, but it does take practice to
And
change it.
you know, something else that I don't know, it came into my brain and I've been thinking about it so much is people claim things like my arthritis,
Right.
my headache,
Yeah.
my back pain. It's like, stop saying that. They're not yours. Don't want
Don't own
them.
it.
Don't own that. No.
Don't own anything that you wouldn't want to keep as a claim.
Exactly. Like when somebody says my back pain, I'm just like, okay, not, as a practitioner, not your back pain. It's just back pain.
Yeah.
It can, let's get rid of it. It's not yours. You don't want that. Let's
I love
pack
the
something
Buddhist.
nice in there.
Oh God.
You know,
I love
like
the Zen Buddhist.
my healthy body, my exercise routine, let's do my good stuff,
My
like,
wisdom.
yes,
Well, I love the Buddhist quote. It's a Zen saying, pain is inevitable, suffering optional. So, attaching to an old, like if you keep rehearsing, that person hurt my feelings, that person wrecked my car, that person caused me back pain back in 1980. I'll never get
right,
over that car accident I had. You are marrying yourself to an old wound that actually keeps you stuck in that wound. Forget it, let it go. We all have stuff we're dealing with, huge things. I don't know a single person who's made it this far in life as an adult, 30 on, who doesn't have a lot of stuff a lot of things that have happened to them.
right. And that's where we get our wisdom and our knowledge. And that brings me to one final point I wanted to say, because you were talking about aging and all of that. And it's so true, especially for women in our society.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's difficult. I mean, it's almost like you're forgotten about or you're not good enough. And I don't know about you, and you're on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast, so it may be different. A lot of women clamor for, including myself, sorry, but clamor for whatever cosmetic procedures can happen to try to look younger and stay youthful and all of this. But I think where we're selling ourselves short is in the wisdom and
Yeah,
in the knowing and in the ability to actually be helpful.
I
I
know.
mean, and I think that our society sells women short. It's not like other cultures where age is reverenced
Exactly.
because of the wisdom.
I know. In France, they actually look up to Catherine Deneuve for aging beautifully, and she's an icon still. I hope she's still alive. Yes. But I'm saying, yeah, we're so, the advertising industry has made us into whatever you can do to make money based on your insecurities.
But I'll tell you what, it's so nice now to see some movies come out with people, Helen Marion, did I say that
Oh, I
right?
love Helen Mirren. Oh my God.
Marion, yeah, I mean, that to me is just amazing. I love watching her.
Never had plastic surgery. It's amazing. She's so beautiful.
And Meryl Streep, I mean, just the people that just go out there and keep doing it and they just do it so well. It's like, that is what I want to look like and look and be like, somebody that perseveres through all this. Because we're not, it's meant to be a journey, and there's
Yeah.
a reason why it happens the way it happens. I'm not sure I'm liking that reason a whole lot,
Well, our culture imposes these ridiculous standards on women and men, but women especially, that
women
I look
especially.
at George Clooney. If you really look at his face and you were to put a woman's hair on it, he's got crow's feet and gray salt and pepper hair, and it's sexy. Michelle Pfeiffer, his exact age, is not allowed to have crow's feet and gray hair and look sexy. Jamie Lee Curtis is doing it, and she let herself completely be real in that big movie she won the Oscar for last year. But
Mhm.
it's still a really hard standard for us. And I get comments all the time. It hurts. The other day I looked, somebody wrote, they don't look so good. Or they'll put a picture out of me it's almost like they wrote the wrinkles in. They want to sell tabloids and make you look as ugly as you can. I
Yeah.
feel really bad for some people. They catch them out shopping and they try to get you looking fat, or they zoomed in on Zac Efron's earwax one day for TMZ, and they zoomed in on Paris Hilton cellulite sticking to a vinyl car seat. That sells papers. It makes people feel better about themselves. But
I
it hurts.
guess. I guess. I mean, we're just all people, and all of these things, like I'm not unique. I'm not unique. So whatever bothers me, bothers my heart, bothers my mind, also bothers, I don't care if it's a multi-billionaire, it bothers them. You know what I'm saying? And all of these little things that we allow, earthly things, to create what we believe we are, is
Yeah.
really sad. I mean, it's just, and it's hard to be a woman. And when you look at our society, a man that is the same age as me can be hanging out with somebody 30 years his junior.
I know.
Why is that? I mean, really think about that. I
I
don't
know.
think,
There's a book called Sapiens, which talks about the fertility and all the reasons that's happened and the reason what attraction means. It's kind of primitive, but we're spiritual beings having a human experience. That's what I believe. And I think we're here to overcome our self-centered fears and ego and all this. As you get older, you get wiser. You should get wiser and more generous and less fearful. So compassion is the number one ingredient. Gratitude, compassion, letting it go, like you said, all these wonderful things. You've had some real harsh life lessons this month, and you're radiating beauty right now.
I'm looking at myself going, okay, sleep.
Oh, you look beautiful. It's your inner spirit that's glowing.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm real happy to be doing this podcast again. This is just like a dream. It's a goal. It's something that I believe in my heart. I just don't let go of this, because I know those seashells that I got that created the beginning of Godshots for me.
Yeah.
That was not random. That's a miracle. I heard what I heard. It's just taken a lot longer than I would like.
Yeah, my timetable is always a little bit more
Yeah.
weird.
I'm like looking at God going, do you know how old I am now? Come on.
But honestly, if we can help people, that's what's important. Like these young girls who are so lost in social media and comparing themselves to others, and these young men that think they're valued, they're not worth anything anymore because our culture. Screw the culture. Let's just get back to the spirit, and let's talk about how we can help each other and join the fellowship of the spirit. That's what this podcast is about.
And
Help
what's the final statement? So we can trudge the road of
happy
happy destiny together. Right.
Whenever I hear an Emmy winner say that, I go, "Oh, he's in my tribe."
Yeah.
Trudge the
In
road
our
of
tribe.
happiness.
I love that. You know what? I wouldn't trade this tribe for anything in the world.
Me too, me
to be
either.
honest with you. So Lydia, I appreciate this. I hate to cut it short, but I need to get Rob to an appointment today, so.
Give
But
Rob
let's,
my love, and I'm gonna be holding good thoughts for you, for him, praying for
thank
him.
you, thank you. And I will, hopefully we'll see everybody again soon. And as always, if you get questions, comments, I'm available, send them on my way.
Yes, I'll put the link to the chat, and I'll put the email, our email address on the YouTube channel as well. Thank you. I love you, Darlene. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for
I
being
love
here
you
today
too.
for me and for my life and my serenity. And we're really
Thank you.
grateful to be back. So we're going to
Thanks.
try to do this more regularly again. And we'll see you
But
later.
it's all on God's timing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Godspeed.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. If I can figure out how to end it there.